The movie begins when everyone is sleeping in the house. Little girl Grace wakes up from her sleep and watches around. Suddenly, a toy starts rocking on its own. It falls on her lap. She covers herself with the sheet and screams. Her parents and brother hear the scream and run towards her room. Brother Jake comes with a bat and they open the door. They see someone sitting on the bed under the cloth. Her mother, Tammy, uncovers Grace, possessed by the demon right now. A demon named Diomedes tells them they should not have come into the house. But now, he wants a human soul as a sacrifice. Father Ken Sellers is not ready to leave the beautiful house so easily. He asks Diomedes for an alternate way that they can again start living in the house without sacrificing the soul of Grace. Diomedes insists that he wants a human soul. Ken offers Diomedes to shift into the basement, but he disagrees. Their mom, Tammy, promises Diomedes to return the soul of Grace, and they will bring him another soul to sacrifice. That conversation works, and Diomedes leaves Grace's body. The scene shifts when Will is on the call as a customer care representative for a toothpaste brand. The toothpaste is too salty after the company changed the formula, and they are receiving many complaints. Amy leaves her room and sees Will baking cake to celebrate her promotion. He asks Will the reason for not showing up for dinner last night. Will tries to pass the answer and continues to be on the call with the customer of Presto Paste. Amy feels ignored and sad. She starts arguing about why he can't get another job and sticks to something for a while. Will reminds her that he will not be working with Presto Paste forever. Besides, he has many plans, like starting a candle-making business. Other than that, he can start woodworking. Will does not respond when Amy asks why he did not come with her that night and continues his conversation on the phone. Amy feels like she is unimportant and leaves. The scene shifts when Will goes to Sellers' house. They convince him to take the place, because he is a great prospect for the sacrifice, as he has no family or girlfriend. When he tells them sadly that Amy thinks he can't commit to anything, Ken convinces him to commit to taking the house. Then he walks to Grace's room and picks up the toy that fell on her bed when Diomedes entered her body. He hears the cupboard door creak, but before he gets nearer, Ken closes it. Will shares that he will move into the house. Doors keep opening on their own. After completing the deal, the Sellers family immediately leaves the house. Afterward, Will begins setting up his woodworking workshop. He receives Amy's message asking about his address. With a lot of good imagination in his brain, he sends the address. Will begins the workout but stops after the initial 2 minutes. Then he chooses the best shirt and unpacks his things. He makes a lovely pink cake for Amy. A while later, the doorbell rings. Amy just stopped by to drop off the box full of Presto Paste. I am very disappointed that Will keeps the box in the basement. He looks at the piano there and sits down to try a tune. He plays the music he learned by attending half piano classes. Suddenly, he hears a chair rocking on its own. He uncovers the chair and likes it so much that he brings it upstairs. Sitting on that chair, he attends to customer calls. Suddenly, his friend Patrick calls and tells him he must bring Amy back. But disappointed by her behavior, Will tells Patrick that she dumped him, and he writes, "I don't need Amy on the cake he baked for her." Suddenly, he realizes that his headphones are gone from the chair and hangs on the call. At midnight, 3:15 a.m., Will's room door opens when Diomedes asks for his sacrifice. Will wakes up and gets so afraid of the weird sound. He picks up the cake spatula and discreetly searches the whole house for intruders. Then he goes to the basement and looks for something covered. As he uncovers it, he finds his lost headset on a racket. Suddenly, loud music plays on the headset and he removes it. By this time, Will realize that something scary is going on in the house. Suddenly, the food processor starts on its own. He shuts it down and gets in bed once again. Then he hears the sound of someone running outside the door. Will falls from the bed in fear. Instead of getting up, he sleeps there. That morning, he wakes up feeling that someone is pressing his neck. A while later, Will makes breakfast when he hears a sound in the gas oven. He opens the door and finds a dark-colored cake. It says, "I will take your soul" on it with icing. He calls Patrick to show this, who suspects Will may be drunk and forgot that he kept the cake in the oven. But Will asks how to keep a cake with icing in the range. They call the police to resolve the problem. They arrive and take slices of the cakes Will made for Amy. They did not find anything suspicious in the house. They warn that they will be fined next time they make such calls without a severe emergency. Will still thinks that only Amy knows that he lives in this house, so they should call her to ask if she broke into the house. Then Patrick made him realize that Amy had dumped him. Will gets angry and asks Patrick to leave. Will returns home from the market and finds chairs stacked on each other. He closes the cupboard and usually tries to think. That night, as he closed the door to sleep, he saw a girl standing next to the door. She disappears as he follows her. Ignoring that, he starts his workout. It's so tiring and boring that he stops doing that after a few minutes. Will falls down the stairs and hears the creaking sound from the basement. As he turns on the light, he sees a lot of cakes with a message for him to leave the house. He runs upstairs and sees a dead girl telling him to leave the house forever. As he quickly starts the car, he sees another ghost boy wearing his shirt beside the window. Without thinking, Will reaches Amy's house. He is so terrified that he tries to break the glass door with the stone. At the same time, Amy comes with a boy named Nick and asks the reason for his arrival. Will guesses he cannot spend the night there and returns home. He finds the ghost again at the staircase who tells him to leave, but Will snaps angrily that he has to stay here as he has nowhere to go. That night, the boy ghost stands in front of Will's bed in his shirt. Will is sad about Amy's behavior and tells the spirit he is lucky to be a ghost. Afterward, Will covers his head to sleep while Ghost stands beside him. The following day, Will comes down the stairs to discreetly make breakfast. He doesn't want to fall or bump into anything. Then he sits in front of the TV, having breakfast, where the TV serial characters are Amy and Will. The girl wants to come back, and she wants to leave Nick. Suddenly, the man on the TV begins telling Will that he is a useless minimum wage employee. Out of fear, Will immediately shuts down the TV and gets scared to see the ghost sitting beside him on the couch. He goes to brush his teeth, and instead of water, a dark liquid flows in the taps. He comes back into the room and opens the cupboard. But suddenly, the boy's ghost appears behind him and tells him to leave immediately because Diomedes does not want his soul. Rejected by a demon too, Will goes to meet Patrick. He tells him everything. At the same time, a girl named Amy also joined them. She is an Amy with two S. She gets bored with the conversation and is about to leave them when Patrick asks Will to tell her what's happening in his house. He shares that the ghost does not want his soul as he has no stable income and a good life. Amy tells them she can help cleanse the house from demons because she has already done it for a while. They reach Will's house, where Amy makes a circle of salt. Amy shares that she left the house cleaning because the situation got out of their control. Patrick is so worried that he may lose Amy in this process because she is his only lunchtime friend, but Will assures him that it will not happen. Then, they all join their hands, standing in a circle. She asks the demons to leave the house, and suddenly Patrick feels something. He runs out of the room. Amy feels a lump in her throat and gets unconscious. Will leaves her there to get Patrick. He sees him in the room possessed by the demon. It shuts the door on Will. Will runs towards the basement to get Patrick. Diomedes refuses to come out of Patrick's body and throws Will down. In the struggle, it breaks Will's arm. At the same time, Amy gets downstairs and sees Patrick digging the floor. She asks Diomedes to get out of the house. It leaves Patrick's body immediately. They take Will out of the house, and Patrick argues that he should not go back to the house. But Will says that for the first time in his life, he wants to accomplish something, which is getting rid of the demons in the house. They took him to the hospital and covered the fracture. As Will returns the following day, he sees Amy beside his house. Patrick told her about his broken arm, but Will is afraid of the house's demon, so he does not invite her inside the house. She watches that, with a fractured arm, Will cannot open the door, and she helps him. They come inside and sit for a while. Will could not believe that demons had left the house after Amy's cleansing last night. But Will and Amy have a great time there without interruption. Will stops Amy for dinner. They eat spaghetti and dance together. That night, Will sees the exact pink cake with the writing, "I don't meet Amy" on it. He immediately hides it. They watch TV afterward and imagine the future where Will has established a grand business and Amy has won a Nobel Prize. Will admits that he is never happy without her. She hugs him, and they sleep together peacefully. The next day, Will tells the truth about how the house is haunted, and he has decided to live in the house and protect the world from evil spirits. That's the most productive thing he can think of. Suddenly, he hears Amy's groaning voice and knows that Diomedes has entered her body and decided to take her soul. Will tries to banish him out of her body, but it does not work. Mrs. Seller hears the shouting noise from the house and feels happy that finally, Diomedes got the soul it wanted. However, Will has tied Amy to the chair and tries to follow some written process to eliminate the demon. Will could not concentrate on his customer service job, and his HR told him he was fired. Suddenly, someone knocks at the door, and he finds Patrick and Amy at the door. Will did not agree to let them in until Amy convinced him that the demon would dig the hole in hell and take Amy along with him around midnight. To save Amy's life, Will, Patrick, and Amy decide to fight together. As they walk inside, Patrick bumps into many cabinets while dark fluid comes from the tap. At the same time, the Sellers family walks in. They assumed the house would have been free after Diomedes took Will as a sacrifice. Will gets so angry at them for deception, but he forgives and asks them to help him eliminate the demon. Suddenly, a demon comes and gets Will inside the basement. Amy tells Patrick that she will perform the dangerous procession of science to break the link between spirits and demons. She asks them to get a few things like cushions, tape recorders, ghost boards, and candles. Members of the Sellers family, Patrick and Amy, join hands to call the spirits. At the same time, Will sees both the boys and the girls' ghosts beside him. He gets so terrified that he falls. At his side, Amy is digging a hole that will take her soul to hell. Will tries to provoke her senses, but it does not work. At the same time, Amy successfully calls the spirits that Diomedes is using to do the nasty work. The hearts ask Amy to help them. Then suddenly, the demon-possessed Grace. She breaks the board and runs away. On the other hand, Will tries to stop Amy from digging, but she pushes him away. On the other hand, Amy listens to the tape recording. The spirits that Diomedes uses for its eternal purposes ask them to destroy objects Diomedes made to set them free. Will sees both a boy's and a girl's ghosts sitting sadly before him. He provoked anger in them, saying that Diomedes was only using them. Suddenly, Amy begins playing the piano. While Patrick and Amy search for the things that the demon made, they search the kitchen, and a hand pushes Amy towards the oven as she opens the door. Suddenly, Jake opened the fridge and found the black cake that the demon had made. While Will tries to tell Amy he is afraid of losing her, he does not go with her to that party because he thinks she might realize he is a loser. Suddenly, Amy gets back to her senses. At the same time, Grace runs downstairs with demons in them and start digging the hole. To close the hole, Patrick threw all the stacks of Presto paste into it. Diomedes tells them that he will build another hole soon. They hold Grace tightly while Amy tells Diomedes to get into the cake, which is his own creation. Grace immediately runs toward the hole. Amy runs to save her, and they both fall into it. Will puts the knife in it. That kills the demon. Will thinks he lost Amy, but Amy and Grace get up from the hole wrapped in dark matter. Mr. and Mrs. Seller also joined them, telling them they were stuck in the guest room. Suddenly, the spirit in the house begins playing the piano. Mr. Seller is too angry and wants everyone out of his house. Will brings Amy out of the hole, and she thanks him for not giving up on helping her. On the anniversary of the day they got rid of the demon, Amy, Will, Patrick, and Amy celebrated. Along with that, they buy the house from the Sellers because the spirits in it are not ready to leave it, which means the property is worthless for Ken Seller. Suddenly, they feel that Grace is missing. They find her coming out of the basement with the recorder. Will says goodbye to the Sellers when Grace looks at him like Diomedes still possesses her soul. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching.